What's up? We got Arrow, Season 6, Episode 5, Deathstroke Returns. So this episode, we were finally back on Arrow on this channel. I haven't done it in a while, been waiting, but now I'm finally back for some more Arrow. So this episode starts off with Councilwoman Pollard just walking out, doing her own thing. When that's walking out, that's when Dinah is like, "Hey, Councilwoman Pollard, I need to talk to you." But that's when a sniper attacks and Dinah has to yell, "Sniper!" for everyone know it's a sniper. And but then the guy just leaves without doing anything. So meanwhile, Oliver's getting ready for his round trip around the world with Slade, and Slade's like, "Hey kid, I don't need the Green Arrow. I need Oliver Queen, my boy." And he's like, okay. And he's like, "The last time I saw my son, I don't remember the last time I saw my son, but I know that the last location was in Calgary." So yeah, it was in Calgary. So Felicie's like, "Hey Oliver, I guess you're going to a romantic trip with Slade." He's like, "You can call it that." And she's like, "Don't go in if you want, but don't go to Aruba. That's our thing." Oh, we love Felicity. So meanwhile, Dinah's just walking out when she sees Vigilante, and and she's like, "SCP," like, okay, but then. So she decides to canary cry him, and that breaks his mask, forcing the reveal of identity. And all she can say is, "It's you," as he walks away, not saying, "Get back here," or arrest him. She's just like, "It's you," and lets him get away. So she basically reveals that guy was her ex-partner, Vince. Vince from Season 5, in the flashback scene, who was shot by one of those gangsters. Yeah, he's not dead. Why? Because of dark matter that made it so he never died. And Felicity has said one of the worst lines in this episode. She says, "Hey Dinah, I know what you thought you saw, but it was dark and it was night." Felicity. And Dinah says, "I know it was him, Felicity." But I'm like, Felicity, people have thought to be dead and come back before. And you're like, that is, you think you saw you must believe what you saw, but it was dark, it was night. Like, Felicity, people have come back before in this show, like Sarah, and like all characters have come. Malcolm Merlin, a lot of characters have come back throughout the show, and she has to say that Dinah's crazy. This kind of hinders the episode, this whole Dinah stuff. I guess they're trying to give her a character arc, but this character arc is kind of a bad one because it kind of ruins the goodness of Slade and Oliver's adventure when you have to keep flip-flopping between Oliver and Slade and what Team Arrow is doing. So, meanwhile, back with the good storyline of Oliver and Slade. Oliver and Slade meet with one of Slade's guys who he knows. And he's like, "Here." So they decide to go to a prison where the guy, he's like, "Hey Slade," he's like, "Oliver, you're gonna take my son and you're gonna go," and this is also done with multiple flashbacks to Slade's past. Like, we also need that. So we have 3 storylines to the episode. We have what Team Arrow's doing, Oliver and Slade stuff, and flashbacks, and probably necessary or unnecessary flashback to Slade's past. Like, that's just too much for the show to handle. That's too much for the show to handle. So he's like, "Hey Oliver, you're gonna take my son and you're just gonna go with him." And he's like, "Wait, you're not gonna come with us? And you're not even gonna see your son?" And he's like, his son he doesn't even remember what the last thing he said. he doesn't even remember the last time he said he loved his son. Yeah, so meanwhile, their team, Diggle and Dinah are like investigating the debris of what happened. That's when randomly the FBI agent Watson's like, "Hey Diggle, isn't it kind of suspicious that why would Oliver Queen's bodyguard of 6 years be working at a crime scene? Kind of suspicious." And he's like, because I worked as a sniper. And she's like, "That's not what it said in your military report." It's like, "You went into my military report?" And he's like, "Yeah." And he's like, we're just doing some very special business." So she's like, "Okay." She's FBI, Diggle. You realize that, right? You realize that this woman is FBI, so she can look into anything she wants. You realize that, right? So meanwhile, back with, I got my remote so I can change the color. I think that's okay. Trump right now. That's right. Oh wait, no. Okay, let's just do this one. Back with Slade and Oliver. Back with Slade and Oliver. Sorry about that. I was like, "Hey, where's his son?" And he's like, "Hey." He's like, "Yeah." There was this big fight that went on, and he's like, hit his head. So they decided to go. So he's like, "Hey, your son's gone." So he's like, "What do you mean you saw my son's body, man?" And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Yeah, you do not want to mess with Slade Wilson. He is going to wreck you up." So he's like, actually, there was this big moment that happened. And you don't want to mess. You want to mess with the jackals. So he's like, "Yeah." The jackals mess with him. So he's like, William randomly calls Oliver throughout for 1 minute in the episode. He's like, "Hey Oliver, did you help your friend find his son?" And he's like, "No, I didn't." And he's like, "I hope you help your friend." And he's like, so Slade decides to show up, prove that Daredevil and the Green Arrow are the only ones who can go through a hallway fight and beats up all these guys. And then Slade gets introduced to one of the gang members, and he's like, "Where's my son?" And he's like, "Slade, you should have stayed in prison." And he's like, "Where's my?" And he's like, "We need your son." And he's like, "Why do you need my son?" "Because he's the boss of the jackals." And he's like, "Hey, Dad. Hey, Slade. Hey, Dad, Slade. I haven't seen you in a while. I haven't seen you in years." So back with the Team Arrow stuff. Felicity gets called by Amanda Watson, and Amanda Watson is like, "Hey, Felicity, you and Oliver you've been with Oliver for what, 6 years now?" And he's like, "Yeah." But then she gets called, as she's answering the question, she gets by the team, and she's like, "Hey," she knows what Vince is, and she's like, before Vince didn't always use bullets. He always used to make origami or paper artwork. So at Councilwoman Pollard's interview, a cop's like, hey Dinah, I wish they could just get rid of all the vigilantes." And she's like, "Vigilantes help people." And he's like, cops are more law than the vigilantes. And she's like, "Excuse me, we've had more corrupt cops in this city before." So that's when she confronts Vigilante, aka Vince. But that's when the guy from before is like, "Hey, freeze." And she shoots him in the visor because he blocks it, so it hits him in the visor. And she's like, how'd that happen? He's like, you weren't the only one to get changed by dark matter. So then Amanda, and then Watson's like, hey Dinah, isn't it pretty interesting that the Black Canary shows up as soon as you disappear, as soon as the lights turn off? Isn't that pretty interesting? And she's like, are you trying to accuse me of being the Black Canary? And she's like, nah, but I know things. So anyway, that's the episode. It's okay. I enjoyed the slide stuff, but I feel like the vigilante reveal kind of ruined it. Like, you have the Slade and Oliver stuff, but then you have to mix it with Oliver and Slade mission. You have Oliver and Slade's mission, then you have to mix it with Dinah and her storyline, then you have to mix it with Oliver and with Slade's flashbacks, and then you have to mix it again with it. I mean, yeah, that's it. But I'm gonna say Amanda Watson, but it's only 3 things, and it's just so confusing. Because I'm not saying this is a bad episode, but they just kept and Felicity trying to tell Dinah that she didn't know what she thought of Vince being not alive. I'm like, Felicity, a bunch of people have died and came back to life before, and you say just because it's dark, Dinah you don't think Dinah saw what she saw? Like, huh? But anyway, that's it for this video, and I'll see you next time for more Arrow. Ooh, I like doing this Arrow thing again. See you guys.